everybody, I want to welcome you to this week's Club Chat. And I want to thank you again for being part of Gray's Golf, and I hope you guys are getting a lot out of these Club Chats. This week, I want to talk about club head dispersion, and actually, in particular, the new Callaway Paradigm driver, club head dispersion. And I want to bring that up and kind of explain what that means and how that actually is significant with distance and so on, because it's becoming kind of the vogue term now for this new driver. Basically, what's happened since the Paradigm was released for the tour was released in early January to the public, is being released in mid-February. But what everyone is starting to see is that they're starting to see much better results with the Paradigm. Number one, they're getting a little bit more distance, but more importantly, it's much more accurate driver. And so Callaway released and put the data out that showed that the Paradigm has between a 15 and 25% better club head dispersion. And I want to explain that in this Club Chat today, because I'm getting a lot of questions on this. Basically what this is, and this is the Paradigm driver here, it's a beautiful driver, and it's ranked as the top driver now in golf. If you look at any driver and you look at the driver face, so if you look at the face of a driver, if you look at it closely, you'll see that it's not flat. Driver faces are basically bowed. They kind of go, basically, if you went like down the line here, they kind of bow out in the middle, okay? So they kind of like a little bit of a C curvature in them. And the reason for that in any driver face is because way drivers are built. This isn't just Callaway, but it's any driver. If you hit the ball towards the heel, you want that spin to get the ball to come back towards the fairway. Because think about it, if you hit the ball on the heel of a club, it's going to deflect, the toe of the club is going to deflect out, it's going to deflect over, and the ball's going to go to the left, okay, if it was flat. If you hit it towards the toe, it's going to deflect to the right, or it's going to deflect open, and the ball's going to go to the right. Well, what they did with drivers, and they did this years and years ago, is they called what's called bulge and roll in the face of a driver. They actually bulge and roll the face out, so as it hits towards the heel, it'll come back towards the fairway. When it hits towards the toe, it'll come back towards the fairway. It creates spin towards it, okay. Well, that was done years ago. I mean, that was done hundreds, when clubs were originally invented, to be honest with you, they figured that out. Now, when they started making longer clubs, they started making titanium clubs and different face clubs, they started realizing that they even got more an effect on that off the toe and the heel because they can make the sweet spot bigger, or what's called the MOI. The MOI in these drivers now, which is the moment of inertia, are the biggest sweet spots in golf. But what happens is if you get a bigger sweet spot, it starts getting bigger and bigger. If you start hitting towards the toe and the heel, it starts shooting it off to the side. So the toes might all of a sudden start hooking really bad, or the heels might start slicing really bad. So you start losing the balls a lot right and left, okay? Well, what Callaway did, and this is part of the research, and the guys, and if you saw the video I did with Callaway, and they said they have 120 people that work full-time at Callaway just creating the next year's drivers, creating the next greatest thing, okay? They use what's called artificial intelligence. They actually have a computer based at Callaway that they just constantly crank in information and data into this computer. It's they call it the smart computer. I mean, it's actually cost almost $500 million this computer, okay? But anyway, and this computer simulates what gets the optimal results in a driver, okay? And what they did with the Paradigm is they made the ultimate, or the best up to this point, club head dispersion. Now, and I'll show you how that works here. First things first, I'm going to show you is actually what they call jailbreak technology and how that has changed. So if I took this driver right now and I set it right here and I drew it, okay? So I drew this driver, so I'm just going to basically draw the driver here, okay? It's going to be a crude drawing, but there's the face of the driver just like this, okay? And there's the shaft, okay? There's your driver. What Callaway did is they did jailbreak technology. This was a couple years back, and they put 2 bars inside the driver. You can't see it here, but 2 bars here that actually kept the driver from expanding when you hit it. Okay, so it actually made this impact stronger. It made it go further. It's called jailbreak technology because it limited the effect of the club expanding out and put more force on the middle of the driver, or which actually kind of the upper middle of the driver for impact. Okay, so they did that a couple years ago, and it actually won awards for that. It became the longest, most forgiving driver. It was the Epic Flash, turned into the Epic Speed. You guys, we went through those generations into the Rogue ST and Rogue ST Max, turned into that. Okay, well now what they've done through a lot of trial and error and through the AI technology is now the jailbreak technology looks like this. It's actually a bar with a base. It has a center bar and then goes into a Y at the top, okay? So now the jailbreak technology in the middle looks like this, okay? So it went from 2 bars to now basically it looks like a Y with a big base in the bottom. And what this new jailbreak technology, or the new technology does, is it had just as big, actually a little bit bigger sweet spot in the middle, okay? because notice it's still on those extremes edges here. But the other thing, but the biggest thing is it made it now where if you hit towards the toe or you hit towards the heel of the club, it actually brings the ball back to the center of the fairway. It doesn't go shooting off to the sides. Because before you can hit up the heel and may go shooting this way or may go shooting that way. We got all kinds of different issues going on, okay? Now it actually brings it back towards the fairway. And so that is what it ultimately called club head dispersion in how it's gotten better. So I'm going to show you what club head dispersion is here, okay? And how it's actually related to golf, okay? So let's pretend right now we have a tee box. So here's the tee box. And this is the fairway, okay? And it goes down and there's your fairway, okay? And you're teeing off this direction. Ideally, everybody thinks they're gonna hit a tee ball, so you go right here and go to the middle of the fairway, okay? Obviously, that's not what happens. Let's say you hit 10 shots, 10 drives. And let's say you tend to slice the ball a little bit, okay? So you probably hit the ball off the heel of the club a little bit. What's gonna happen is you'll see a drive go like this and may stop here. And then you may hit one a little bit more towards the heel and it'll start off here and may go over here. And then you may hit one, and typically what will happen is it'll go like this and go a little shorter. And then the other slice will go over here and go a little bit shorter. And then all of a sudden you kind of catch a straight ball and it goes here, okay? So all of a sudden you say you hit 10 shots and this one sliced a little bit over here and went to there. And you'll see what's called club head dispersion or ball dispersion. You'll get a pattern of where those balls go, okay? And what you'll see is, you'll see the straight ones typically go longer, the ones that slice will go shorter. Because if you took this basically line that went this direction and you straightened it out, you get more yardage. And I think everybody understands that. You hear people say, if you took all that turn I had, you just straightened that out, it'd be 20 yards further. Well, you're right. Well, here's the club head dispersion right here. So if you went and did a TrackMan analysis, if you went on a simulator, you guys, maybe you've seen this, a lot of people have done this, okay. Well, what Callaway has done through their technology, through the new AI technology and the jailbreak technology and the paradigm, is they've limited that they've lessened the dispersion up to 15 to 25%. So instead of having all these over here, you take off about 15 to 25% of that. So it doesn't slice as much anymore. So now this shot right here would actually be up here. This shot right here would actually be over here. So in other words, I'll do this in red. Let's say right now, before you're hitting an older driver, you hit a shot that goes like this over here to the right. You take that same shot, it's got 15 to 25% less slice, now it's up here. Okay? So now it's less to the right and it's longer. Okay? That's how they show that this driver is longer, because the dispersion is less club head dispersion, okay? So again, let me show you this one more time. So you notice, this is what they mean by dispersion. So if you went and hit 10 balls, 20 balls, 100 balls, they can chart this for you. And they will show you that this is your dispersion pattern, okay? Let's do the other one. Let's do the opposite of this. I'll give you this again. So let's say you hook the ball a little bit. Let's say you tend to pull the ball or hook it a little bit. So your shot patterns tend to go like this. So you start out, maybe you hit one straight. It's good, or pretty close to straight. And all of a sudden you hit one now and it just turns a little bit to the left, okay? And stops. Okay? Now you hit one that hooks a little bit harder and rolls over here and stops. Okay? Now you hit one that goes over here and turns a little bit and stops. Now you hit one straight right here. Okay? Again, this is your club head dispersion right there. Okay? That's actually the ball dispersion. Now, let's take the one, I'm going to do it in red here. So let's say you hit one with an older driver. It's going to match this. So it goes up and it matches this, and there's your dispersion. Now you hit with the paradigm. And let's say this one happens to be 25% less dispersion. So this right here, let's say the dispersion across right here is maybe, let's say, 20 yards. Okay? 25% less is going to save you about 5 yards. So now instead of being here, you hit up, and now you're just into the rough a little bit. You saved yourself 5 yards going left, but you also added that distance. Because it's less turn, which limits the distance, and that gives you more distance on average. Okay, so what club head dispersion is, it's the two things. Number one, it helps with accuracy. Number two, when it's helping with accuracy, it's not turning as much, and it'll give you more distance. That's why when they rate these drivers, you will see them rated, the Paradigm drivers, as longer, because not only are they a little bit longer in general, but they also have less dispersion, and the dispersion pattern's less, and that will help you guys get distance. So guys, I want to explain that, and you guys are and we've heard this a bunch. In fact, John Rahm, when he won the 2 events with the Paradigm driver, 2 of the first 3 events of the PGA Tour he won with the Paradigm driver, and the first thing he said is, when I normally hit the ball off the heel, it would cut into the rough. Because now when they're cutting, they're staying in the fairway. And that's a massive deal. And that's why his driving distance went up slightly, but his accuracy went up dramatically because of the Paradigm driver. So guys, anyway, if you're interested in any equipment with Graves Golf, you're interested with, in particular, the Paradigm driver, fairways, hybrids, irons, we've got them, we're getting them out. People are placing a lot of orders for them now. If you're interested in any of that, email me at timg@gravesgolf.com, timg@gravesgolf.com. And like always, if you haven't been fit, if we don't have your fittings on file, if we haven't opened up a discussion about your club fittings, go onto our website, go to our club fitting form, fill that out. Within a day, I'll get back to you. I'll give you a bunch of recommendations and your perfect single plane fit, and we'll open up a discussion. So guys, let's make sure your clubs are fit. Let's have some fun out there. Having fit clubs make the game a whole lot more fun, and we'll talk to you guys soon.